All right, guys, welcome to the first Hip Hop Heads podcast. It's amazing. We have Sankofa on the line. That's how you pronounce it, right? I'm assuming.
Yep, Sankofa.
Perfect. Another question I had before we started is it how do you pronounce the name of this album? It's BLKTCHP. I had an issue myself trying to figure out what that meant.
Basically, parenthood has caused me to start delving into what my kids are doing as well. Yeah. And BLKTCHP stands for Black Ketchup, which is what my then 4-year-old son, who's now 6, that is how he described barbecue sauce. So I thought it'd be fun to like take some like the album, because it's mostly like menacing, mean tracks, and name it after something that my kid came up with to call barbecue sauce. But then to make it super like obscure and people like, I don't know what that means. That could mean something evil. But no, it's just my kid's name for barbecue sauce from like 2 years ago.
I love it so much, man. Because the first track that comes, I think you've set Bandcamp up, so the first track that comes on, is it just to test this, is Toast of Eden. Yeah. Which is highly aggressive, evil at times.
Yeah.
But just to hear the background of Black Ketchup, that's because again you have other tunes on this that are like quite laid back, like Extinction Agenda. It's quite a laid back tune, quite a nice sounding hip hop tune. And then you have like the dark evil. So I like the way you've like switched between different styles. It's good, man.
Well, thank you. I mean, PhD Beats, he's the guy who produced the whole album. Like, he sent me a variety of beats. Now, originally, like, I've had the album artwork for like 2 years, because this album's been like about 2 years in the making. So I had the album artwork set up, and it was going to be all mean raps and angry raps, and like, the stuff I listened to back in like high school and college. Yeah. Like that DITC type of murk. And then he sent me some, and they were mellow, but I dug them. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to the beats and see what come up with. And there it was.
And you can see that you have like just a genuine love for hip hop there, rather than just sticking to the sort of main aggressive stuff. You have sort of delved into like the nicer sounding.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, there's so much more than just like, I want to beat you up type music. Yeah. Now, when I began back when, doing songs with Casualty, it was all like the punchlines, I'm better than you. This is how smart I am. Here's a punchline. But then the older I got and the mellower I became, I realized that there was a lot more to life than just like, hey, I want to beat you up. Or here's a song about how good I am and how dumb you are.
Again, there's a big thing that's out at the moment. Conway the Machine from Griselda has just done a tune with Ludacris. And there's a lot of people complaining that it's like, it's not real, it's not authentic to what he does. And it's just fun. It's just having fucking fun with what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm fortunate enough that rap is a passion of mine, but I do not require it to be my like source of income. Okay. So I have freedom to do what I want to do. You know, whereas someone like Conway would have to wait until they're, they've made enough money that they're like, I want to do this. Yeah. And I mean, there's been a lot of talk lately about giving artists their flowers. And I feel that Griselda has really done a good job of doing that, like bringing in people who meant something to them. And, due to, their commercial viability and all the merch they've been able to sell, they're able to like pay these rappers and feature these rappers. And a lot of people who listen to Griselda may not necessarily know about these rappers.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Totally with you on that. So let's go back to the beginning, man. Let's say, do you remember your first experience of listening to hip hop music? Maybe hearing it in a car, maybe a brother or sister or a parent. What was your first experience of listening to hip hop?
Yeah, now it's in between two things. I can't remember if the first because I was born and raised in Australia, and
I noticed that in your accent. I thought that before.
Right? Okay. Yeah, it's weird because there's some people who like, I go through life and then some people just randomly look at me and stop like, where are you from? But for the most part, people like, oh, he must be from New York, or he must be from here, must be from there. But anyway, it was either like I was taking a shower, listening to the radio. It was, I think it was American Top 40 actually. So they broadcast it down in Australia. And we had this little radio, it was like a sphere. Looks kind of like a Sputnik type radio. Pretty dope. Hung from one of those like keychain rings or whatever, and it was playing I think it was Parents Just Don't Understand. by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And like, I was raised in a household of music. My mom was always playing records, and much to my embarrassment, you know, when I'd bring friends home from school, she'd be dancing in the living room to all this music. But I'd never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, was that the first song I heard? Because then I remember like whatever video channel, because on Saturday mornings there'd be videos that would play on whatever channel it was. And I saw the video for Stutter Rap. Okay. And that was Morris Minor and the Majors. And like, you know, it was a spoof of the Beastie Boys. But at that point, I had no idea who the Beastie Boys were or what a spoof was. But, you know, they had scratching on the record and everything. I was like, how do they do this? So I walked down to the Kmart with my allowance and bought it for like, bought the 7-inch for like, what, $6, $7, and played the hell out of that record.
Yeah.
But just being able to hear something that was unlike anything I'd heard, even being raised in a household of music, blew my mind. And then being someone who loves language, you know, I became more drawn into it, like how these people are making these thoughts connect and the patterns that are there with language and words.
It's one of the most amazing things is like I remember the first time I heard Big Pun's Dead in the Middle of Little Italy. That was one of the big things that came into my head.
Yeah.
I was like, this is because like I remember sorry, again, talking about me again, but
hey,
initially like initially like when I first heard hip hop, I didn't have the internet and shit like that, so I was used to just hearing radio stuff. And then eventually, once I got the internet, I got to delve a bit deeper into like the background and a bit the history of hip hop and stuff like that. And then that was when I got to hear Big Pun, and then a bit so like underground stuff. And that's when I finally decided I was like, you know what, I need to listen to different shit because I'm like, it's so much better. The skill level was just like so much better. Has to be that way, man. Has to be that way. So did you get to a point, like how far in, like from starting to listen to hip hop, did you decide that you wanted to actually make that music, and when did you start?
Oh, man, that was there was a huge distance between that.
Okay.
Because I mean, even when I was in high school, when I graduated high school in '93, like I was in high school and I'd basically go to the local music store and look at the rap section, which was like 3 rows of CDs or tapes or whatever, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I'd buy something. And if I liked it, you know, because I didn't have the internet to be able to give me an example of what this was, I had to buy it, open it up, play it. And if it was dope, the liner notes were essentially like, I was reading all the shout outs. I was scouring that stuff. I lived for the lyrics within the books. But when the shout outs, I'd like start reading the shout outs and like, which artists are they referencing? Which artists are they saying, you know, shout out to you and you. So like I buy this album and then I'm starting to play connect the dots and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to look for this when I go to, you know, the record store. But I was lucky because I moved to the United States in 1988, and that's the same time that Yo MTV Raps hit. And so like I'd get back from school and Yo MTV Raps would be on, and that was my gateway to hearing more. But even then, like back then, like I was one of 2 guys in my school who listened to rap. And now rap is so pervasive that I'm like, man, I really am that old because, you know, I was like the white black sheep in my high school listening to rap, and now rappers used to sell everything. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, what was it like, like in Australia at the time? Like when you, what age did you move from Australia again?
I moved when we were 14.
Okay, right, okay.
So I went from 8th grade in Australia to 8th grade in the States.
Okay, and what was it like hip hop wise over there? Was there anything really?
I didn't know. I mean, I was off in my own bubble. I was contentedly skateboarding, and that was about it. So I didn't really know of any scenes. And I mean, there wasn't even a skate park when I was there, so it wasn't like there was that much of a community that I could branch off into that stuff. But I remember when I visited 2 years later, there was a skate park and they had some giant amplifier playing Public Enemy. And back then I actually knew who Public Enemy was because I had the tapes and, you know, marveling at the amount of words that Chuck D was coming up with. Like unfolding that tape, and it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, man, this dude is so prolific. It just blew my mind.
Amazing, man. Have you kept up to date with any like recent Australian hip hop?
No, I never really knew about Australian hip hop when I was there because I left in '88.
Yeah.
And I think I did a collaboration with a couple friends. But the thing is, like, I've done so much work, it's hard to remember what I've done.
Yeah.
And so
I did notice that you have a lot of material up there.
I wish I could say I was well versed, but honestly, I'm not really that well versed in the present. I'm finding myself, like, nowadays I'm listening to podcasts, and these podcasts are basically illuminating to me that the rappers I looked up to, you know, the big puns and all that, they were influenced by Cool G rap. And so now I'm listening to all of these like Cool G rap podcasts, and I'm like, damn, I missed out on all of this. You know, like when I was listening to rap, I just wasn't listening to Cool G rap at that time. Or I wasn't, you know, really focusing on Black Thought. And so, like, I've been diving deep into those guys because there's so much of a catalog and so much skill. And just, I love that they never really settled. They never got to a point in there. They never got to the, like, that MC Ren point where they're like, you know what? I'm good enough. I have enough notoriety. I'm going to stop trying to get better. Like, there's that constant elevation with those guys, and that really inspires me. I'm like, got to keep working on it. I mean, yeah, I think I'm dope, but I think I'm going to be doper, you know, just like those dudes. So, I mean, sorry, that's a super long-winded answer to your question.
That's great.
Not really answering your question. But I mean, the stuff that I listen to these days is pretty much the stuff that my friends are putting out and I'm working on with them.
Yeah.
Because even now, like, my friends will release like a beat tape or something. So I'll buy it from Bandcamp because I want to support, but I don't want to listen to it because I got so many other projects I'm working on. I don't want to get distracted. And I know myself well enough to know that if, like, producers will hit me up on Instagram or whatever, they're like, hey, man, love your work. Love to work with you. And I'm like, man, I've got so much on my plate right now. I really have to honor these commitments and get that stuff done. And I really appreciate you hitting me up. But I know myself well enough where if I hear a dope beat from them, I'll just email you one beat. I'm like, no, man, you email me that one beat. I'm going to start writing that beat, and I'm not going to get this project done and that project done. And like, it's a beautiful problem to have. It's not really a problem, but it's like, man, I've just got to like clone myself so I can make more songs with more people.
That's fair. That's fair. Makes sense, man. Makes sense. One question I like to ask people is, what is the scene like in your sort of local area, like specifically for like music you do, like boom bap and stuff? What is the local scene like for that?
Well, when I first moved to Fort Wayne, which was probably about 2001, the scene was pretty strong. I mean, I actually had a public access show because I didn't know anyone in the town. So I had a public access show called Shoes and Movies, where I'd basically talk about shoes, movies, and rap and whatever else. And then some of the people in the local scene tracked me down. There was a b-boy named Glide, and he tracked me down, and he came with a whole crew of like graffiti cats. You know, there was Dose, there was Resin, there was Soap, there was Cost, there was Wreck. And like the B-boys and the B-girls were talking like Evelyn, Pringles, MSG, and DJs, and like the whole spectrum. So like from me having this one public access show to them tracking me down to being like, man, there's this whole scene here. And Glide was a promoter, man. That dude was a planner. He had all his like super secret, like double top secret plans, like massive events. And his network was fierce. So like, I really moved to Fort Wayne at the right time because there was an event, was called 32 Deadly Masters. There was an MC battle, you know, there were B-boy battles. It was dope because in the outside of the venue is called, oh man, I can't even think of the name of the venue right now. It's a huge venue. It used to be an old like movie theater. So it had these huge walls on the outside. So all these graph cats like came in from all over, and that whole building on the outside was just this beautiful, massive mural of graffiti. So like I was able to come in at a point where it was really strong. And as time goes on, you know, just like the rest of life, you know, people get families and they move on to other things. And so whatever scene there was, it seems to have, you know, fallen away. But that's not to say things aren't still happening. It's just not that I'm necessarily connected with them, you know, because I'm still trying to keep working, being busy on my music and stuff. But even then, you know, what with the family and a job and everything else, it's like, I'm not trying to stay out late. I want to get to bed so I can wake up at my normal time because my sons are going to wake up at 6 o'clock anyway.
Yeah, that's it. For definite, man, for definite. I want to get on to next to talk about sort of a dream collaboration which we might have in mind. So what I would like to ask is a producer you would like to work with, top of the line, just whoever you would like to work with, just straight off the top of your head.
Oh man. Like, I honestly feel like the people I'm working with are so dope that I just want to keep working with my friends. And I know that sounds corny.
Oh, that's cool.
But I mean, like I got a line on Black Ketchup, you know, I don't want to work with my idols. I want my idols to say I want to work with him.
Right.
You know, and there's a song that I did that my buddy John Doe, who's on the album, he kept bugging me. He's like, man, you got to drop a verse for this. You got to drop a verse for this. So I finally recorded a verse for it, you know, thinking it was a song with the two of us. And I was like, here you go, man. Here are 2 verses. Here's a potential hook. You know, sorry it took so long. And then months later, he gets back to me and gives me or sends me a rough mix down of the track. And it's got Prince Poe and Chino on it. Wow. And I had no idea. I just was trying to do something dope with my friends, because that's my whole philosophy is like, I think my friends are dope. Like, me working with a quote unquote bigger artist to get my name out there further, like, that doesn't bring me the joy that working with my friends does. Because I think my friends are dope. I just don't think they have the recognition that comes with their skill level.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have so many offers from so many dope people who aren't the big names. I just want to keep working with them. And I'm honored that people who are dope want to work with me.
Well, listen, I'm glad you've said that, right? Because I have, for the past 2 years, been doing the podcast that I do. And the idea was to showcase up-and-coming acts alongside the bigger acts, and not make a big deal about it, because usually what happens on these radio shows, they have like an unsigned talent section, and then they have the commercial section and fucking shit like that. So I mix everybody in, because I believe that if I like any of the music, it's all on the same level to me a lot of times. So I would clash, like, I think last week I mixed, it would have been last month, I mixed like some, I think it was Atmosphere with a guy from Glasgow, a guy from like just up the road from me. So I was like, that's what I want to do, just like keep everybody on the same level, because everybody is just as good. So there you go. Excellent, man.
Yeah, I mean, sorry I couldn't come up with a famous name or whatever.
No, that's great. But it's great to be able to bring that up as well. So,
but I mean, if I can just mention the people I've worked with, like I worked with Burnt Bacharach on The Most Delicious Gold. I worked with Chef Mike. I worked with Wing Clipper. I worked with El Ketter. PhD Beats did this most recent one. I worked with Damo the Great. I mean, these aren't household names, but these are people who, like, I get a beat, and if a beat inspires me, that beat is dope to me. Like, I don't always get a beat and like, yeah, I'm ready to write, let's go. It may not mean that the beat isn't dope. It's just not for me. And so it's me listening to the beats. Like you're saying that Black Ketchup is, you know, mostly some angry stuff. And I say it's mostly some angry stuff. When I listened to it, that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of those days in high school and college when I was listening to that stuff and be like ready to take on the world type of music. And I mean, I'm working on I got a project in post with DJ Matty Light right now. And if you think Black Ketchup is mean, man, like Dante's Levels of Hell or the Circles of Hell. Yeah, this project with Matty Light, The Floodgates. And he's paying some big name dude, because I'm so out of the loop, I don't know who the dude is, but some dude to mix it down, and it is sounding insane.
So are you talking about going from like sort of like aggressive hip hop to like death hip hop?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yeah. This is like the obituary of like. How can I draw this parallel? God. If Black Ketchup is prong, then the Floodgates would be obituary.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. I think that's a perfect way to end, man. I think that's excellent. So I wanted to play a track at the end here. Do you have like a music video out or something that we could add at the end, or anything you want us to play?
What I've done is I've basically just had those 1 minute video clips. of each of the songs, and that's available as a bonus feature of like Bandcamp downloads. But as far as any song, whatever's the raw song to you, man.
Okay, well,
I trust your judgment.
Okay, well, I think I liked Until the Demons Cheer.
Yeah, man.
I think we'll put that on at the end. So what we'll do is on the audio podcast, we'll put Until the Demons Cheer. We'll leave music off the video podcast, but we'll put it on the audio one.
Sure.
So that's it. That's cool.
And I can email you the 1 minute clip I did for that track if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, because that would be good actually to put on the video podcast as well. So
dope.
Cool. Awesome, man. Awesome. So I think, is there anything else you want to cover before we go? Anything you need to plug?
No, nothing stuff? I really need to plug. Just thank you for your time. And it doesn't really matter what big city you're from, as long as you're making the dope stuff, you're dope. And I mean, that's my philosophy. Like, people in Fort Wayne, like, they look for someone else to co-sign it. You don't need someone to co-sign it. If you know it's dope, it's dope. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you're making it, it is. I blitz with heat, leaving them weak in tears. When I proceed to veer, I find my phobias and feed them fear until the demons cheer. My kind of loneliness is holding them tight to podiums, rolling inside the Cody lids. Accreted deeds so odious, whispering sweet nothings. The pit is made of jagged blade, shudder between the vagabonds so haggard and gray. A tragic array, I'm bagging songs, miraculous strays. I'm laughing with hyenas on some back of the day. The capital A, that's preceded by an S. The dialect, the cyanide when I'm providing vital threats. And I will rest when sleep sings its siren song to me. A constant march of heart and grief responses off the loss of teeth. The cost of trauma deep embedded. Preacher keeping step base with lead and claws sinking deep completes the legend. Blink and leap before the monster takes away your chance to escape. Even if you make it, cancer awaits. Neglect it for now, but don't neglect it.